and welcome to the Baltic Football Podcast, a podcast about football in Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia. Today we're going to catch up on what's been happening since we last spoke, and what we want to do is see what is hot and what is not in Baltic football at the moment.
Well, starting with hot, I think there's plenty baking in all three leagues across the Baltics right now. I think there are so many exciting aspects going on.
For example,
if you look at all the leaders, the top two leaders in every single league, the highest point difference is just 2. So Liga, Riga FC, RFS, 2 points difference. RFS started the season totally on fire. Riga stuttering. Suddenly Riga have turned around, become a super exciting team. Some really hot players at the moment, particularly the defenders assisting goals and so forth. Our Liga, no point difference, 24 points.
RFS is leading Riga FC by 2 points, you're saying?
Yeah. Riga are leading RFS by 2 points right now.
When did that happen?
Probably just after the derby.
So there has been a leadership change in the Liga. RFS, who camped on top for all the way up until now, are now runners-up, second place. Riga FC, on the back of 7 back-to-back wins, have turned their fortunes around and are now top of Liga. How about that for a twist?
There's been plenty of twists with RFS. They Leopard weren't so hot this season.
Leopard pulled off a first win against RFS in 4 years' time. 4 years. 4 years.
Yeah, and Leopard had been struggling, and they've suddenly brought in a new coach. But it wasn't just that was RFS's third defeat this season, but they did start so well. And they off the back of a 5-1 win against Daugavpils as well. Yeah, they suddenly stuttered. But I mean, talking about Riga FC, you've got some really top quality defending right now. Musa, he's coming up, moving the ball really well, assisting goals. You've got probably the best midfield across the Baltics coming from Riga FC at the moment.
Yeah, and Orlando Gallo, Costa Rican with his Costa Rican teammate Anthony Contreras. They're really lighting it up on the field of Skonto. But I think the story there is fascinating, that so many people have written off Adrian Gula, the Riga FC coach, after Riga FC. I think they fell behind by as much as almost like 9 points at one.
They fell behind
one time.
Yeah, they weren't scoring goals. They were struggling a little bit, but possibly just starting to get out of the blocks. They lost 3-0 in the Super Cup.
And now they've completely turned it around.
They've turned it around, and I think this is the first Riga team that I've seen in 5 years that actually look like a cohesive unit, that are actually performing well, working together.
I wouldn't go that far, but
they're not struggling with rotation as they have in the past. They're a bit more self-assured. I think in Ankara, they've got an excellent anchor man, really blocking any offensive play, and they're able to mix it up as well.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, Riga FC are hot. That much is clear.
Yeah,
but they're hot not just in the Liga.
Okay, where else are they hot?
They are hot also in the women's league, because Riga FC Women have an unbelievable season for a team that's only 2 years old. This is their second season. Last year, the team was founded from scratch, went on to win the domestic championship, lost the National Cup, won the Super Cup this year, and now, after 7 games, they have won all 7 of their games. They scored just shy of 50 goals, but here's the kicker: they haven't conceded any.
They've not
conceded a single goal in 7 games.
Okay.
Won all of them, and I think they scored like 46 or 48 goals in this period. They are dominating.
So do they
Latvian
have the
league.
Best defensive, the most clean sheets, the best defensive record across the Baltics for any football team?
Yes. The only team in women's football that's anywhere close is Flora.
Okay.
Who have also won all of their 7 games, but they've conceded 2 goals and scored like 8 fewer.
Right.
In Lithuania, Transinvest are leading the table, which is also interesting. It's not Gintra.
That's quite unusual for Lithuania.
But they have lost one game.
Right. Who have they lost to?
I haven't looked that up.
They haven't looked. But traditionally, the best women's team in the Baltics, the best clubs.
Gintra. Is Gintra.
Gintra from Lithuania.
Undeniably Gintra, followed probably by Flora, if we're looking at Baltic Women's Football League. But Riga FC are on the ascendant. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with very, very soon, possibly already this year in the Baltic Women's Football League, when they start clashing with the likes of Gintra and Flora. And I mean, they have professionalized Latvian women's football pretty much single-handedly.
Yeah. And
they might be one of these, emergent superpowers in this part of the world in the women's game. So,
and the women's league, they play against all the other Baltic teams. What's the situation there?
So each country has domestic league, which is 7 to 8 teams, depending on which. And then the Baltics have this unique international league on top of that, which is called the Baltic Women's Football League, where 2 of the top teams from each of the domestic leagues from the previous season are drawn into this competition and then play against each other in a round-robin format.
Yeah, okay.
Last year, RFS Women came, I believe, 3rd.
And who won it last year?
That's what I'm trying to remember. I think it was Flora who won it last year.
Okay.
Apologies if I got that wrong.
Please leave your comments if Dmitrijs incorrect and you know a little bit more about women's football. But we are covering it a lot on www.balticfootballnews.com.
Yeah.
We've done some nice interviews with a few players.
More incoming. So if you want to really find out who are the people behind this, who are the foreign players who come here, with women's Champions League experience, and why are they here and what are they hoping to achieve, do go and check out those interviews. But for now, Riga FC in Latvia and in the Baltics are wow.
Okay, so in terms of what's hot, so we've got Riga FC, super hot, both the men's team, the women's team.
And the futsal team, who have become champions of Latvia in a series against RFS, which they won 3-2.
And if we want to just finalise who else is hot in the Virslīga before moving on, I think Jelgava.
Absolutely.
Right now, they are...
The Moose of Semigalia.
Yeah.
Moose, plural.
Okay, yeah.
Mooses?
Yeah.
I think it's just Moose.
Yeah, Mooses.
No, it's just Moose.
Okay, moving on, yeah.
Moose of Semigalia have been crushing it. A team that got relegated last year and only retained a spot in the Virslīga because your club, Valmiera, couldn't, do 2 + 2 = 4, sort of a math.
Dodgy accountant.
Yeah.
But,
And got kicked down to the 3rd division.
Yeah.
That gave Jelgava their spot back. And, oh, wow, are they back?
They are really back. They're really competing. Riga struggled against them up until the 60th minute. They've already beaten RFS. They've got a really good depth of squads.
They've not beaten RFS. They drew RFS.
Oh, they drew with RFS.
They drew 2-2 with RFS.
They drew 2-2 with
narrowly
RFS.
Lost in the first leg.
Yeah, they beat Auda 3-1.
Yeah.
So they are the informed player team at the moment. They've got a balance of some really good local players.
And Czechs.
Yeah, really on form, and along with some good. So you've got Victor Promise, where we spoke about last time. He looks quite on form, and some other experienced Latvian players. Besser's still quite young as well. Richard's Besser's. Yeah, I think, and of course,
your boy Penkovic from Valmiera.
Yeah, he's
lighting up the midfield.
He's leading the charge. He's been a good captain so far, and they've got some very good Czech players as well.
Yeah.
So I think Jelgava, keep an eye out for them this season. But moving on from Jelgava, who were relegated last season but stayed up, the other team that is really standout right now is moving to the A-Liga, and I think are super hot when you look at what happened to them last season. Suduva
are back, possibly?
They are back with vengeance.
Oh yeah. A team that was dominating Lithuanian football for a brief period of time, about a decade ago, they do have a spring in their step now, again.
They have got 24 points, joint first with Kauno Zalgiris, and they have just suddenly they're all over the place. They are winning games left, right, and centre. They've not lost since the 16th of April. 2 draws, 3 wins in their recent in their most recent form.
And that's them being slow. Because they started the season just winning everything left and right.
Yeah, so they've kept 4 clean sheets in their past 4 games. And the most interesting thing is that if you look at this squad, around 7 of the first team players, it's their first season in that squad. So usually it's not a good thing to change so many players. But Suduva are doing something right. And the A-Liga, moving on to what else is hot, is the A-Liga defending. But, Suduva, really on-form team, and there's nothing, as we said in the last episode, it is a bloodbath, the A-Liga. It's, you've got 3 teams right now, as of this weekend, with 24 points. So, all to play for. Hegelman as well, doing pretty well, 17 goals, 17 conceded as well. So some great defending coming out at the moment. Well, in terms of clean sheets, bit of clumsy goalkeeping. Kauno Zalgiris, probably looking the most professional team right now. They've got a magnificent stadium. We mentioned the fans as well.
Yeah.
But they even do fan marches to the stadiums as well.
All clubs in Lithuania pretty much do, which is fantastic about the Lithuanian fan culture, that it's among the Baltic states it's the only one that actually resembles fan culture in Western and Central Europe. That there are many of them, they wear colors, they're passionate, they do these marches, it's fantastic.
And there's even...
Something I remember you mentioned last time, in addition to saying that Lithuania is a bloodbath, is that their defending is terrible, and now you're saying it's good. Yeah,
well, I'm impressed by. I mean, they might just have awful goal scorers, but if we look at the most up to date goals, I guess we're recording this on the 18th of May, but the A-Liga 142 goals have been scored and conceded. The Versliga 179 goals, whereas in the Premium Liga 192. So.
Oh wow.
There is a bit more discipline in team defending, I guess, in the A-Liga. Although if you look at the goal scorers, the most goals scored are around 5 goals. 6 now actually from Jan Sonas in the A-Liga. So there's not as many higher goal scorers, whereas in the Versliga, you've got Dejan Lemovic.
Darko Lemaic, for those who don't speak Frank.
Yeah. I've done a typo. 9 goals, 3 assists. He's really on form. Ramirez, bit of a battle between those 3. Ramirez is well in form at the moment. 8 goals, 1 assist. And then you've got the great Pulis, former Valmiera player again. There's a lot of Valmiera players mixing up in the Versliga Latvia. But yeah, if you're looking at top scorers, there aren't that many players on fire in the A-Liga compared to...
So what's hot there? Just the A-Liga defense?
The A-Liga defense and the number 1 spot, because there really isn't anyone in the number 1 position right now, because it's 3 teams.
Yeah, 3 teams.
With 24 points, which is magnificent.
Suduva, Kauno Žalgiris and Hegelman. And I think if you had to choose, though, out of those 3, I think Kauno Žalgiris, given what they did yesterday, they are probably the hottest thing in Lithuanian football at the moment, because there was the Grunwald derby, which is what we call the matchup between Kauno Žalgiris and Vilnius Žalgiris.
Yeah, and that was a 3-0. Yeah, that was
Kaunas
a big one.
won 3-0, very convincingly. Pretty much no options for Vilnius, and I do feel a little bit bad for fans of Vilnius Žalgiris this season. One of our team is a fan of Vilnius Žalgiris, and I believe what he sent us in chat after this game was that it's a disastrous season, and then a smiley face shooting itself in the head.
Yeah, I mean they've got a few too many older players.
Candice is
Žalgiris,
35 years old.
yeah, former Riga FC player. But I mean, if you look at they lost 3-0 against the big rivals, but the ball possession was 50-50, so they're just struggling to
silver lining, Vilnius fans.
Yeah, yeah, you can hold on to the ball, but you can't score, and your defense is shocking. But anyway, so I think they're the big things that are hot from the A-Liga, VS Liga. Estonian league now. I mean, if you look at today's result, Flora just beat Levadia 1-0. So suddenly, as I said, like if you're looking at for excitement, it's difficult to keep up with what's going on in the Baltics right now.
Well, it isn't if you follow BalticFootballNews.com.
If you follow, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, Flora took their revenge in the Tallinn derby.
Yeah.
Beating Levadia. What do you know? Levadia started the season so convincingly, and Flora started the season much like Vilnius Žalgiris.
Yeah.
But they have since picked up.
Yeah, I think it's down to away form a little bit. Flora are just invincible away. Levadia's form is, they've dropped quite a few points away, whereas Flora 16 points from 6 games. So they're doing something right. I mean, they're scoring goals as well. I thought Levadia were running away with it, to be honest. But
yeah, it looked that way.
The Flora are not conceding as many goals either, so I think there's something there. But it's pretty competitive. You've got the two teams at the bottom now in the Premium Liga, only 7 points apiece, which isn't so good. But overall, suddenly there's a bit of competition, and Kaliu are they're starting to climb up a little bit. They had the best form in the league, 15 points from 5 games,
and they defeated both Levadia and Flora.
Yeah, and they're just 4 points. Yeah, exactly. So there's a few things, but yeah, let's say what's hot in the Premium League right now is that there's 3 teams that have suddenly opened up the competition.
Yeah. But I think Flora and Kaliu definitely hot.
Yeah, that's what's hot right now from those 3 leagues. I mean, what's been the standout moment for you so far?
Hotness-wise?
Yeah, hotness-wise.
That's a good one. I'd say Riga FC have been the standout moment simply because they seem to be turning their season around in a dramatic way. In Lithuania, the 3-way tie for the top is exciting. I wouldn't say it's been, outstandingly hot for me because I expected Lithuanian league to be very even. In Estonia, Estonia is generally cooler than either of the 2 states.
Yeah.
But I think Kaliu really taking the fight to the big dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, granted, they probably consider themselves to be one of the big dogs, which they are. But defeating Flora, defeating Levadia, I think Paide as well, if I'm not mistaken. And they have been extremely hot in our power rankings. So the power rankings that we do, where we rank in a dynamic way all 30 Baltic clubs based on the relative performance, Kaliu have gained like 7 positions since the start of records, which is the most of any club.
Yeah,
and that just shows they've gone into the top 14, I believe, on the last calculation. So they've been shooting up like nobody's business, and that's testament to how hot they are.
Yeah.
To me.
Okay, and just a quick one: Daugavpils. What's going to happen with them in the European qualifiers?
We'll find out soon enough. The European qualifications draw is around the corner.
But have they got the team and the players to do something, do you think?
I think it depends on who they're up against. If they draw one of the big teams, and they will be unseeded, of course, it's their first time, then probably not. If they get a bit lucky, why not?
And are you aware of the teams that are all the can you list the Baltic teams? This is a challenge. Can you list all the Baltic teams that will be have qualifiers for the European competitions this season?
Yeah. So the 3 champions: Vilnius, Žalgiris, RFS, and Levadia, qualifications for the Champions League. Of those, Žalgiris and RFS will be seeded almost certainly in the first round. Levadia will not be.
Yeah.
So then we have Riga FC, Auda and Daugavpils for Latvia qualifying in the Conference League qualification round 1, at least provisionally. Riga might get recalibrated into QR2.
Okay.
But we'll see about that. And then in Estonia you have Kalju, Flora, and Paide.
Yeah, right.
Also Conference League QR1. And in Lithuania, I'm afraid I'm not sure.
So I guess we'll be looking at it in a bit more detail.
So Hegelman, it will be for sure. So it's Hegelman, Kauno, Zalgiris, and someone else.
Maybe that's for our next episode.
No, for sure. Once these come out, we'll have a look.
Because
obviously.
yeah, I think it's an interesting take on who's going to be the best equipped for European qualification right now. Because I mentioned in one of my articles on BalticFootballNews.com, RFS new signings not settling in.
No.
Riga FC new signings looking good. Kauno, Zalgiris quite on form. They're looking a bit more accomplished as a team. Whereas Vilnius...
So I think it's less about what state the team is in now.
Yeah.
I think it's about your coefficient.
Yeah.
And that. And RFS, given that they will be seeded in the first round, and looking at the champions that are on the unseeded side, there's nothing tremendously threatening there.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
they might draw like Luxembourg champions,
right?
Or San Marino champions or something like that. And that's really doesn't matter much what form they're in. Those are semi-pro teams.
Yes, yeah. So based on your calculations,
I haven't done any.
Yeah, okay, but you're on the spot analysis. You think that
in the first round, RFS have the best odds of any Baltic team.
Okay, interesting.
With Žalgiris, they need to pull themselves together. I mean, come on, you're the most successful club in Lithuania. You're defending champions. You're not showing up.
You need to
start
trouble,
showing
definitely.
up.
Yeah. They need to change. Make some
and I
changes.
think their fans, who are fantastic fans, I think the only club in the Baltics with two separate fan groups, which
fans,
is very unique here. I think they've made their view of the situation perfectly clear by thrashing a little bit the Kauno stadium after this 3-0 loss.
Yeah.
They are not happy. It's embarrassing, honestly. You can't do better. You must do better.
Yeah.
In Estonia, Levadia are fine. They're not going to be seeded. That's a problem, but otherwise they're fine.
Yeah. Well, we'll be discussing European qualifiers possibly next episode or the one a bit later. They start in June. But so far, there are so many hot things going on in the three leagues right now.
There's not that many cold things, but
there
are some. And I think there's one that's ice cold throughout this season, consistently.
Right.
And that is Dainava.
Oh, yeah,
Dainava Litus, the only club in all three Baltic leagues that hasn't won a single game this season.
2 points.
Rock bottom of A Liga.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. Sacked their coach. They did get a new goalkeeper in, Klaus Slauva, Latvian, who played as a second or third goalkeeper for Valmiera a couple of seasons back. So far hasn't done them much good, but I mean they are on a highway to relegation as things stand.
They are in trouble.
They need to do something.
Yeah, 25 goals conceded. They've only scored 9 goals in 12 games. They've got the worst defensive record, I believe, in the Baltics.
Well, no, they can't be worse than Kalev.
Oh yeah, Kalev have conceded 37 goals. You're correct, but they do have 7 points and they've scored 1 more goal.
yeah. Still.
Yeah.
They've been losing big time.
Yeah.
Some games were like.
Yeah, Kalev's goalkeeper hasn't had an eye test in a while, so
Oh, come on, he's a young
I
guy. He's doing well. It's just their defense is horrible.
Yeah, I mean, talking about like defensive woes, Liepaja, 26 goals conceded, but they're sitting 5th because they're also scoring a lot of goals. But from my side, what's not hot is that Liepaja have gone through 3 managers this year. 2.
They started with Skander.
Okay, yeah.
Then they sacked him. Janis Goba took over as caretaker manager.
I didn't realise he was caretaker. Right.
Okay, it's unclear. And then they sacked him and got the Swedish guy who is now in, Alm.
Yeah.
By the way, fun fact, Alm in Swedish means the same thing as goba in Latvian, which is elk, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Elm, sorry. So that's, how do you... I don't think you can do that if you plan for it, but anyway.
It's like coincidence. The stars were aligned.
So
for,
two managers,
for the managers' names
just the two managers, and they're not cold. They're doing fine. They're underwhelming, okay, but they did win RFS, so that's something.
They're just inconsistent, and they need to get a bit more structure within
not
their
hot,
performance.
right?
They're not hot because they've been rotating, and they're just a team where the HR manager must be having to deal with all sorts of things because of the rotation of players coming and going, the rotation of managers coming and going. So I think Liepāja's ongoing recruitment woes should be addressed, and hopefully they can be fixed. So Liepāja, you're not hot right now when it comes to recruitment.
You know who else is not hot in Lithuania?
In Lithuania, who else is not hot in Lithuania?
I would say that Riteriai are not hot.
Yeah.
They're hot on the pitch,
but
they're not hot in the back office again. Because the latest development is that the club is for sale now. So if you have 450,000 euros...
450k for club,
and you don't care about losing them and not getting anything in return, I suppose. You're welcome to purchase Riteriai. But previously we wrote about this whole situation with Singaporean investors pulling out because of some really dodgy stuff going on with the accounting at the club. Since then, the Lithuanian Football Federation just gifted Riteriai 50,000 euros, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's an unfair amount. It's 10% of their annual budget.
It's an unfair amount when they were the ones that made the error, and that money could be used elsewhere.
Allegedly, nothing's really changed. It seems that a few players had gone home, including their star goalkeeper Innocent. There's been reports of salaries not being paid for March again, or not paid in full. And the Lithuanian Football Federation have now said that they're not going to be doing another injection, so the club needs to figure it out. Jan Nevoina, who is the head of this whole operation, says that there's 7 interested parties. I don't believe that, especially after what happened earlier this year.
Well, they are one of the renowned teams for youth development in Lithuania. They've got access to a 5,000 stadium, so there's opportunities in terms of business model.
But they also allegedly have over 2 million euros in debt.
Okay, well, that's a bit toxic as well. We'll see what happens there, but their form is absolutely appalling. They've lost 4 of the last 6 games, lost 4 most recently, drawn 1. So they are in trouble. They've only scored 2 goals or 3 goals in 5 or 6 games. So.
They're hemorrhaging their key players.
Okay, so
and the club is not saying anything.
So
about
in
any
terms
of
what's not hot, Riteriai and Zalgiris sitting 7th in the league as well. Brilliant stadium, brilliant fans, not such a brilliant team, I guess. Any other things that you think aren't hot right now? What's cold in the Baltic leagues for you?
I think Metta's attitude is not hot. Moving on to Latvia, So Metta is a fantastically important club in Latvian
It's like
football.
trying to get into a nightclub nowadays for the media in Metta. Are you wearing your shoes? What's in your bag?
Yeah, which news publication are you affiliated with? Because that's what happened.
Are you an Auda supporter? Yeah. Do you have any Auda tattoos?
So Metta took a grudge against the largest sports publication in Latvia, Sporta Centers. They didn't like some of the words that that publication used in articles, or they didn't like that they weren't called by name or as they would like to have been called. And so without prior notice, they barred entry to Sporta Center's journalists during a game against Supernova. And it wouldn't be okay under any circumstances, but what made it worse was that one of those people was supposed to be the game commentator. He couldn't get into his workplace, had to go back to the office and comment the game remotely, which means that people watching were treated to half an hour of ambient sounds while he was doing that.
And it wasn't exactly the nicest of days. I'd finished, my working day, and I thought I'd pop over, and to be interrogated by a bouncer wasn't my idea of smooth entry into a football club.
So what did they ask you? Because you were there.
Where are you from?
Where are you from?
What are you doing? Why haven't you brushed your hair? No, but in solidarity to our media colleagues, I think covering football in the Baltic region is, there's a rarity of media in the first place. And the two that were not allowed into Metta are two of the hardest working individuals within football. And they do, we said in a tweet, they go to the ends of all sorts of places in Latvia. Give it, whether it's snowing, rain, storms, whatever. They will be at that match, and they're not bad guys, and they didn't deserve the treatment that they had. So we stand by those two journalists in particular, I think.
Yeah. Metta, as I said again, hugely important team for Latvian football. But come on, guys, grow up. You're supposed to be role models for Latvian football. And football of Latvia in many ways. So many of junior national teams are comprised of Metta Academy players. Just what are you thinking?
Maybe,
come on, guys.
We hope to be talking about what's hot next time, and I'm sure the new stadium coming up. There's so many exciting things happening with Metta.
If they'll let us in to see it.
If they let us in, yeah.
It's ridiculous. So Metta's attitude is definitely not hot in my book. It's just straight up embarrassing and petty and cannot be condoned.
And share your thoughts on what you think is the best way to behave in football when it comes to
best way to behave is respectful. That's
respectful.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you just
please,
do whatever.
Please leave your comments and continue to post on social media and keep up the conversation on what is standing out for you in all three Baltic leagues right now, because we took on this project starting with the Virs Liga, and we've covered all three leagues now. Levadia just losing 1-0 to Flora. There's some exciting things going on.
Baltic football is great.
Summer it's going to be a great summer for football. I think anything can happen. Put on your seatbelts and enjoy the ride.
Or not.
Or not
put seatbelts and just lift your hands and enjoy the ride that way. Baltic football is great and we love it, and we want you to love it as well. But it is what it is in many ways because of the limited resources that are available to the teams. And in one sense, that's great because it forces them to be innovative and it forces them to look for opportunities that maybe are outside of the box. But in other ways, it hampers development. Something that's been around for a couple of years now that's been lauded as a great boost to productivity and innovation and all that stuff is, of course, AI. Who hasn't heard of AI? So we wanted to, neither of us is an expert on AI or a data scientist or anything like that, but we both use it in our daily work lives, more or less. You do it more than I do, but in very different ways.
Yeah.
So we want to chat about what it actually sort of is, and are there any ways how it could benefit and supercharge development of football in the Baltics as well. Again, not experts, but also we're not
we're not experts, but there's of course a logic to the use of using AI in a range
how do
of
you
different
use it?
things. So on a daily basis, I previously had a PR agency which I exited in London. Now I have a couple of other businesses that I'm involved with, I guess. So from my side, I use a couple of AI tools, ranging from drafting contracts, ranging from simple things like press releases, social media posts. I use it occasionally on accounting. I use it for quite a few different things to reduce my productivity, or to increase my productivity and reduce my churn, the churn rates of certain tasks. And so do my team as well. They are heavily involved in using it to take shortcuts, even for coding now. It's used to develop areas of websites. You can copy code a lot quicker. I think with AI, you still need to know the fundamentals, and AI is an instrument just like anything. It's like going from a hand saw to a mechanical tool. But I use it for quite frequently on a regular basis.
But you're using then these tools that normally fall under the umbrella of large language models, such as ChatGPT or Copilot, whatever you're using. Yeah, so large language models, just to kind of give a bit of a context, are essentially artificial neural networks with a highly exacerbated degree of complexity. So traditionally, neural networks, which would be deep learning algorithms, they've been around for a while. And what it basically is a series of equations whereby you put some information into it.
Yeah.
It runs it through a set of weighted averages.
Yeah, probabilities.
For example, if you want to identify is this a dog or a cat in the picture?
Yeah.
So you put a picture in, and then some of the weighted averages could be, well, is the snout this long or that long? Are the ears this shape or that shape? And then it's going to look at what, based on this information, is the probability of that being a cat or a dog. And if the case is clear cut, it will tell you, okay, this is a cat. If it's one of those weird animals in between, it will tell you, I'm not sure, or take a guess. That has been around for a while. Whenever you do a CAPTCHA on a website that says, points to a traffic light, you're labeling data for these models.
Yeah, okay.
You're telling what they are, yeah? What large language models are is that, but many, many, many layers on top of each other.
Yeah,
which makes them very difficult to understand because you're dealing with such a cascading
you're dealing
complexity in these calculations, which essentially results in there being very low replicability of results.
Okay.
So when you say, hey, draft a contract, and you do that 5 times, it's not going to draft the same contract 5 times.
No, but I also have the ability, I've got 10 years, 12 years of doing business, so I have the ability to upload quite a broad range of different contracts in order for it to follow the directions of what I've paid and outsourced for in the past in order to take that and improve it and decide. It depends how you're using it and how you're laying down the instructions. But this is a football podcast, and we're not here to talk too much about the depths of 10, 20 terabytes of data and how they can be consumed
we're not qualified
and so on. But
to do
so talking about data AI in football. How do you see AI in football? How do you see football benefiting from AI? Because I've got a whole list of thoughts myself.
So there are. This is where the difference comes into play. So AI that is based on neural nets, that's the kind of stuff that, for example, decides whether you qualify for a loan in a bank.
Yeah.
Or whether a person is likely to commit a crime or such. So this is the type of algorithms that are used in things like scouting, performance analysis, even some optical analysis for tactics. Like Liverpool FC had a cooperation with this AI company, and they developed this system called Tactic AI, which looked at corner kicks only. Because it's a set piece of play, you can understand where is everyone, and then it said, well, if you run in this direction, you have 83% chance of breaking free of your marker.
So Liverpool partnered with Google DeepMind, and the system analysed player positioning and suggested tactical adjustments, with coaches preferring its recommendations over existing tactics 90% of the time.
So that is the artificial neural net. These systems are expensive, they're complex, but they do what they're supposed to do very well.
Yeah.
Now, if we're talking about what you're using, which is broadly called generative AI, which remember is just like a stack of neural nets, I think that is where it becomes a bit more interesting, because those are super cheap. Anyone can use them. You can go to chatgpt.com and use it right there. No subscription needed.
There's a lot of tools that provide AI. But
what can you do with it, right? And there is an interesting case from Norway from this year where a lower league team, HamKam, trained one of these models on football data for their team, for their competitors, on prevalent football coaching philosophies. And they said, all right, for this game, this AI bot is our coach. And it analyzed the team, analyzed the opponents, set the starting formation, which was 1-1-9.
Right, perfect formation.
Perfect attacking formation.
If you've taken a load of acid and you decide.
And they just lost heavily.
Yeah.
super highly. It like substituted a goalkeeper at some point.
Yeah. Oh,
For a field
there's
player.
clearly like an illogic there, and that.
But to you, not to the AI.
Okay.
And that's because when you stack these neural nets,
Yeah.
you lose understanding of what the system
reality.
perceives.
Yeah, you don't-
Of what's important.
Yeah.
Because remember,
AI
is this a cat or a dog?
Yeah.
Well, what are you looking at to determine that?
It is still early days for AI to detect human emotion, physical conditioning, particularly when you're looking at a footballer's life. What's going on in the footballer's life, whether that footballer is going through relationship issues or is not in the best psychological place. But AI does have a lot of benefits as well. You can get hold of 200 past matches of your opposition now and really grind it down to see, develop heat maps around where parts of the pitch can be exploited. You can just take set pieces from the past 20, 50 matches and see where the weaker points are.
Yeah, you can use it as an assistant tool.
From the data analysis that is collated in football, AI is the best way to tactically get an advantage on your opponent now.
I don't know about that, because the way you described it, that's all supporting data.
Yeah, it's all supporting data.
Much like with the case of the HamCam artificial intelligence coach, none of that, which had access to all that, none of that matters if you can't reason your way to what that data means. So why does it matter if someone had a fight with their spouse before the game?
Well, it doesn't.
You know that because you have experience, you can reason, you can empathize with the players. System can't do that.
Part of the beautiful thing about sports is the human side, and in order, like business or anything else, you have to understand how to motivate individual players. So I don't think AI will ever be able to motivate a team or motivate players, but it can encourage and it can speed up learning of whether it's the opposition, whether it's a player that is consistently consistently getting injuries. I'm aware Liverpool have got quite a few systems, AI systems to analyse player conditioning and so on. And Arne Slot, his teams have seen a reduction in the amount of players getting injured throughout the season. So if there is the player conditioning side, that might be down to AI looking at following player trackers and so on. I forget what they're called.
Oh, those bra things.
Yeah. So
GPS trackers.
Yeah, GPS trackers. So if there is data to collect on the training field and so on, teams can operate a little bit more leaner in terms of cost savings to minimise injury risk. I think the video analysis is a really important side to it as well. But AI is there to stay, and football teams can exploit it, whether it's from the marketing side, the player improvement side, or the tactical side.
You are right in that it makes organizations leaner. We know that it makes organizations smaller. Not just AI, any new technology coming in, it will have the effect of reducing the amount of actual man hours to do tasks.
Yeah.
We know that. For Baltic clubs, which are small to begin with, this could mean that it will allow them to do more things with the same amount of people. We know that it's very effective for content generation, however, in English.
Yeah.
They're not trained on Latvian, Lithuanian, and Estonian.
No, they're not. But
so that makes them limited in applicability to domestic markets. Could Baltic clubs use this to try to further their brand abroad? Maybe. Riga FC, I think, are trying something like that. This year they suddenly changed their content to English.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
No, I did. But
so their Instagram is in English now for some reason.
Yeah, that makes it more interesting. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it does that, but it makes it more accessible to foreign audiences.
Yeah. Or the social media manager is just it's easier to create.
But we know him.
Content as a result. Yeah, but they've got a small team there.
And I don't know if this is correlation or causation, but if you go to Skonto, you will see a ton of foreign football enthusiasts there now.
There are a lot
Does
more.
that mean that it's because their Instagram is now accessible to tourists coming to Latvia?
Well, I mean, Riga, you do see a lot of they do a lot of advertising in Old Town in Riga. They advertise in the Air Baltic magazine. They do have quite a big presence from a marketing side in the tourist area. Whereas, RFS, you go there, it's a really more wholesome family experience from that side. But from an AI perspective, I think, it definitely helps marketing. Like you can repurpose adverts, you can repurpose content a lot faster. You can figure out when you need to increase ticket sales as well. Dynamic ticket pricing, attendance prediction, which is a bit easier in the VS League as well. But there's
yes
tools.
And no.
Yeah. There's also the scouting side as well. So, who your favourite team's RFS? Where do you feel they're weak at the moment on the pitch?
Attack, obviously. They're not converting chances.
Even though they got the top scorer in the league?
Correct.
Okay, so you feel they need another striker?
I felt that for years, honestly.
Okay. So I guess sourcing the right player, whether it's through, a scouting tool, Transfer Labs, Sky Sports, was it We Scout?
Yeah.
You can recognise your midfield players who are good at putting in crosses or good at direct passes. So whether you need to identify, you need a player that can hold the ball up, but you can definitely with AI now you can match more players.
Yeah.
So you can collect the attributes of the players and look at where the balls are going in specific areas and find a player that might be able to position themselves in the most frequently passed places in the box.
If you can do that, that would be great. I'm not sure if you can do that because I don't think any of those systems are AI as such. Because what AI is by definition, it's some kind of a system that is aware of its surroundings, and is able to, reason based on that awareness, quote unquote.
There is a pool.
So what you described, if you can do that, so say you upload a database from Scout into some kind of a client, and it says, well, based on how you play, these are the players who can help you, and if you adjust your formation or whatever in the following way, you can make the most out of what you already have in combinations. I don't think that exists yet, because if that existed, it would essentially cheat code football and...
No, well, that has to a certain... There is data-driven recruitment assisted with AI as a tool. So, you just have to look at Brentford FC, like, Moneyball of football. There's a couple of cases where undervalued players have come in with high potential, and they've brought them in, they've developed them and sold them on. They're also owned by the Danish team FC Midtjylland. They're also in they're owned by the same data-driven group behind Brentford, who use AI to assess player performance, set pieces, and opponent weaknesses. So they won the Danish Superliga multiple times using analytical for competitive advantages.
I think that's the
modest
key term,
budget.
Analytical.
Yeah,
analytical is not AI.
It is to a certain extent.
It's to no extent because it's not a continuum. But I think analytics and data can be helpful in the Baltics, but they still require human expertise and man hours, right? If you can, which Baltic clubs are in short supply of.
Yeah.
If you can have a way to also introduce AI into this, layer it up, then yeah. At the moment, I don't think that exists really. But if you want to follow the Liverpool FC way and have a system that analyzes a particular part of play, like I don't think any Baltic clubs have specialized set-piece coaches, for example. I think it's something that an assistant coach does alongside other things.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I think you're correct.
You can free that up by having this thing do set-piece analysis and suggestions for you. That could be great. That could be good value for money.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely one way, in addition to content generation and content translation.
Yeah, content generation, like the commercial side as well. I think is as much about software, but teams are pushing for sponsorship. They're pushing for wider audiences and so on. So I think AI can increase the opportunities to reach specific audiences, whether it's from a business-to-business perspective.
We know from the case of Virslīga that they collaborate with an Israeli company that automatically cuts highlight clips from matches and sends them over to the broadcasters. So as a result of that, Virslīga can provide highlight reels pretty much instantly after a match is finished.
Yeah.
And that gives them a huge competitive advantage in terms of using media to popularize the game.
I mean, I would love to hear from some of the younger coaches in the Baltic leagues. Like, I would definitely probably consider using AI to develop training systems or certain training sessions. So if I saw that the team was very vulnerable on the back, the wing backs were a dodgy left and a dodgy right back.
Yeah,
I would generally look at there are a lot of manuals on training. I did a coaching course with the FAW years ago, but you're given a big manual of training sessions and so on. I'm sure like ChatGPT can devise a lot of different training sessions to speed up that side as well.
Question is, would you trust it to do that?
I trust it as much as a book, I guess, a manual with a 50-page manual.
But you know that's written and checked and double-checked by experts.
But it's a tool. It's
how
there to
ChatGPT works. It predicts the likelihood of the next word based on the words that came before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I maybe a manager can test, or just if there's any honest managers out there that have used ChatGPT to develop a training session, let us know in the comments.
Or any other part. We'd love to know how you're using. We're speculating on what could or could not be good uses for artificial intelligence technologies, generative or deep learning.
Yeah. Video analysis.
Yeah, that's part of deep learning. If you've actually used one of those, please let us know. We'd love to understand more about how that impacts the development of football in the region. And then maybe there is a way to develop it further and faster.
Yeah, and then on top of that, VAR and so on, it's being used more and more, but from the federation's perspective, the governance of football, I think there's a tool to improve VAR a little bit.
Yeah, we know that some advanced VAR systems do use AI. I don't think Virslīga or any of the other Baltic leagues use that. So there are those that have like dozens and dozens of cameras and they have semi-automated offside identification. Yeah. None of that is available here at the moment.
Yeah. So I think there are already a lot of accessible tools for AI out there in football. I think from my side, it's definitely a beneficial tool for all Baltic teams who have a smaller amount of manpower, have to put a lot more time and energy into analysis, video analysis, commercial marketing, player GPS monitoring, tracking, injury tracking, and I think it can only improve the football leagues here.
Yeah, I'm less deterministic. I recently gave a keynote at this AI conference. I think it can be, but I think how you combine it with your existing human capabilities is key. And the combination is the biggest challenge in using things like AI or even advanced analytics, to be honest. And I think there's space to rethink how, what is the role of these things in football clubs. There is space to rethink where is the value that can be extracted.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, there is even space to rethink that with these capabilities, how can the role of football club in the Baltics, where they're traditionally less embedded within communities and so on and so forth, can change? Maybe how can that be reversed and
I think ultimately teams here rely on developing players and hopefully selling them on and making money from future contracts and player transfers. They want to have a lean both staff and squad to a certain extent, the smaller teams, so injury prevention, things like this, if there's opportunities there, along with scouting as well. But
so if you had to do one tip from Frank for a club in Latvia, Lithuania, or Estonia to apply AI to, what would it be? Just
Well,
one.
you'd have to give me an overall goal of what
No,
that club
just
wanted
one.
to achieve.
Blind. Just what would you say? Hey, try this.
I would recommend the tactical analysis in order to turn up to games more informed and be able to outsmart your opponent.
Okay.
I think the tactical side, the ability to, upload videos and develop analysis there.
All right. So augment your coaching and tactical stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also scouting as well.
No, one. That's not one. I'm sure you can count to one.
Yeah.
So if I had to, I would say right now where we are with these technologies and where my perspective on where the clubs are with respect to what they can do realistically, I'd say don't do that. I'd say use freely available versions of AI such as ChatGPT, Copilot, whichever one, to globalize your message. So you can translate text that you write anyway in every language. You can develop very easily. I've tried for my other things. You can develop very lifelike AI avatars that can speak in any language.
Yeah.
So internationalize your social media, internationalize your outreach.
I do agree. Turn yourself into a global brand.
You go with tactics. But basically what he just said. Make sure that it's an easy win, it's easy to do, but it can expose you and your story to the whole world in ways that is just not really happening right now.
Yeah, well, I guess from my perspective, if you need to commercially survive and sustain, you need to finish. The target is European football ultimately. So, in order to get results, in order to grow, you need to be getting results. Thus, you attract higher attendance. You've potentially then got qualification opportunities. If you're getting better results, your players are more likely to stand out. Therefore, they will potentially yield a higher transfer amount as well. So on the pitch, performance is everything to football in order to sustainably grow.
I'll challenge you on that. I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore. With the opportunity to reach global audiences, that means that you can reach a lot of people that can relate to your situation regardless of where they are, whether you're an underdog, whether you're a challenger, whether you're a struggling club. So I'd say focus on the stories. ChatGPT or similar can help you write those in ways that your in-house content creation stuff, if you have any even,
it's an interesting
cannot.
one. Yeah.
And then translate it to English, Spanish, Mandarin, whatever.
Yeah.
Try to reach with your brand all over the world.
And
tell your story.
Have you looked at the numbers in terms of Dorking FC are one of the more successful social media clubs? Have you looked at the numbers on how much they're generating from social media ads?
I have
YouTube
not, but I know that in football, a business model of content as a business is on the rise. It's not just about your on-the-pitch performance.
I do agree. I think it's got to be a balance, and if you perform, then that the marketing is enhanced by that as well. I am intrigued by the numbers, whether a good player transfer, 300, 500,000 euros, plus getting through a series of rounds in Europe is more profitable than a social media income. But
it's not mutually exclusive.
Yeah. Social media.
Your coaching staff do what they do.
Yeah.
Your admin can do that too.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay, so your argument is that.
So my argument is, if you want to try,
more commercially successful.
No, not at all. That's not what I said at all. You've not been listening to me. I said if you want to try one thing.
I'm trying to defend my reasoning behind my AI.
If you want to try one thing now, try that.
Yeah.
That will give you the biggest impact, biggest bang for your buck.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
What do you think? Tell us if you're using AI, whether you're a top tier club or any down the bottom, where I think it's even more interesting. Let us know, and we'll see where we get on with this.
You can never spread yourself too thin. AI tools do allow yourself to do that a little bit more.
Yes,
But,
you can.
or you
Thanks
can.
for joining.